you guys want to learn more
in the comments below as well.
But it shows you that the Democratic Party, what I have noticed is that they engage in quite a bit of projection.
In this video, Jillian Michaels welcomes Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks onto her podcast. Ana Kasparian and Jillian Michaels are both fuming, no pun intended, about the California leadership's handling of the wildfires. With that, let's watch Ana Kasparian and Jillian Michaels torch Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and the rest of the California commie.
Thing was to be prepared for a worst case scenario. We needed to ensure that all of our reservoirs were filled. We're now learning that one of them, the San Ynez Reservoir that carries 117 million gallons of water, was emptied nearly a year ago for minor repairs. That reservoir should have been filled in the lead up to the Santa Ana winds. But what makes it clear to me that our mayor, Karen Bass, underestimated the fire weather is that she didn't do that. She didn't prepare, and in fact, felt the need to go watch another sovereign country's president get inaugurated. That doesn't benefit the people of Los Angeles. I don't understand why Angelenos funded that trip to begin with, but it gives you a sense of what these local politicians really care about, and it's themselves, their own political careers, and it disgusts me. Gavin Newsom, in every single interview I've seen him do, has passed the buck, even though he is the governor of this state.
Yeah.
He is pathetic. He's a snake. He's like the slimiest Democratic politician, certainly on a local level. But what we have seen is mismanagement of epic proportions, and the mere existence, and it is real, the existence of climate change should not be utilized as a talking point in order to pass the buck, in order to deflect blame, in order to refuse to take any personal responsibility for how poorly this state has been governed for several years now. I am so disgusted with these people. I mean, Newsom is the governor. He's the top dog in California.
You know, you blew the whistle on the PG&E scandal that I'm not hearing anything about right now, and I can't articulate the way that you do, and I learned about...
I'll repeat it till I'm blue in the face. All Democrat leadership politicians care about is power and saying or doing whatever they need to accumulate more of it. Gavin Newsom's behavior during this tragedy encapsulates everything that the Democrat Party is all about. Passing the buck, and how convenient to have some stupid thing like climate change to blame it on. So instead of just using climate change to bilk our government out of billions of dollars, trillions if you want to sign that Green New Deal, and fearmonger, now they get to use it as a tool, like a get out of jail free card when you screw up. I've said forever, Gavin Newsom is an evil person. Can you imagine if in that recall election they had elected Larry Elder? Wouldn't he be a dream scenario for that great state that's run by garbage people? And by the way, I did not realize that the citizens of Los Angeles were funding dumbass Karen Bass's trip to Africa. What the hell is she doing there? How is that remotely necessary for her to do her job? I do these videos all the time. It's just every day there is some new low that the left can sink to. So here we go again. Let's get back to the video.
It, as mentioned, from you. So I was hoping that you could talk a little bit about that. You have a brilliant 20-minute video that I posted on X the other day, but can you encapsulate what happened there and what role Newsom played in letting PG&E off the hook?
Well, essentially what he did was bail out PG&E, even though PG&E essentially started the fires in Paradise, California.
Right.
They couldn't be bothered to replace a $10 hook that was nearly 100 years old, and that hook was holding the power lines up.
Right.
So just think about that. These hooks are basically falling apart. Power lines are falling. We have dry conditions in California. And so it's a tinderbox. We live in a tinderbox right now. I mean, Newsom, of course, also can't be bothered to clear the dry brush, had cut funding for that. Anyway, but putting that aside, after the fires happened in Paradise, California, and so many people lost their homes, lost everything they had worked for, Newsom comes in because PG&E is one of his major donors and it essentially bails them out and structures a settlement with the individuals who lost their homes in such a way that it's essentially tied to the value of the shares for the stock of PG&E. And so it created this situation in which the very people who lost everything because of the greed of this utility company now have to root for this utility company to maximize their profits if they are to get any money as part of their settlement. And there was a lot more to that story. It is a 20-minute video. Please
I'll
check
link
it out
to
if you
it.
guys
I will
want to
link
learn
to
more.
it in the comments below as well.
But it shows you that the Democratic Party, what I have noticed is that they engage in quite a bit of projection.
Anna, are you just now realizing the projection of the Democrats? Everything nasty that they say about the right is because that's what they do or have done, and that's how they think. They assume nefarious motives for everything because that's the way their minds work. I think it's taken way too long for her to understand how badly the Democrats project, but this has been going on forever. So glad she at least acknowledged it at some point. That story about PG&E is wild. Embarrassed to say, I think I heard about it, but I did not know the details of the story. That settlement that Newsom structured, if that's in fact how it went down, is appalling. I have a question. Seriously, let me know in the comments. And I'm not asking this rhetorically. Serious question. Has Gavin Newsom ever done anything good in California? Has he ever made any decision that really benefited the state's citizens? Because not only do I not agree with the policies that he enacts, but it seems like every single decision I've ever seen him make has some selfish, political, personal, business motivation attached to it. Honestly, let me know if there's anything that he can be applauded for since he's been governor. And they're talking about this guy as running for president. If he ever won as president, you can't see me right now, but I just paused for about a minute straight thinking about the nightmare that would be Gavin Newsom as the president of the United States. That's how bad it is. I literally, it's hard for me to even fathom or picture. I mean, you think Joe Biden ran the country into the ground? That was child's play compared to what Gavin Newsom would do. Anyway, let's get back to
because they do love to point fingers at the inept governance of Republicans, the corruption that you see among the Republican Party. I mean, a good example of that is what happened in Texas when the privatized energy grid in Texas went out in the middle of a disastrous winter storm, and hundreds of people died as a result of that. That was also the crisis in which Senator Ted Cruz was caught going to Cancun for vacation.
I remember.
And Democrats had no problem calling him out for that. But for some reason, they're providing cover for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, leaving us behind in order to go see another country's president get inaugurated. So if you have any fire that you're directing toward Republicans for their inept governance, I am not going to take anyone seriously if they're unwilling to apply that same logic, that same reasoning toward Democratic lawmakers, Democratic politicians who have also failed the people who they're supposed to be representing. These people do not care about us. And at this point, there needs to be a reckoning within the Democratic Party in regard to their failures, in regard to the fact that they engage in the same behavior that they criticize their political opponents of. People lost everything. Okay, there's a coach in Altadena, California. He's known as Coach Walt, and he's lived in Altadena his entire life. He's known in the community because he spends a lot of time helping others. He lost everything. And just watching that man in tears.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Watching him attempt to be optimistic despite everything that's happening around us right now is inspiring, but also incredibly heartbreaking. Because, look, I spoke to someone who left California, after 2020. And she told me the reason why she decided to leave is because she realized if we were in crisis, no one was coming. That's how Californians feel right now. That's how Angelenos feel right now. And when you have a situation in which insurance companies are just free to drop people, homeowners, a few months prior to these wildfires, they get away with murder. The electric utility companies get away with murder, even if they're the ones who sparked these fires, even if they're the ones who cost people their lives. You see all this stuff happening. You can't blame Republicans for that in a state that is completely dominated and controlled by one party. And that's the Democratic Party. Pointing to climate change isn't good enough for me.
Not good enough for me either, Anna. The Democrat Party has rules for thee and not for me and not for you. How crazy is what just happened, though? An insane progressive leftist, Ana Kasparian, just said verbatim what you've heard me say on here 1,000 times. The Democrat Party does not care about people. The fact that we're agreeing on that statement, what's more indicative of how high the level of ineptitude is that the Democrat Party has reached? But we want to hear from you. What did you all think about what Ana Kasparian had to say? I found it really interesting. And what do you think about California's response to the wildfires in general? Let us know. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.